What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Ask A Brutha Podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Dragon with Tech. Joining me, as always, is Mr. Doja. Mr. Doja, how you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. It's been a little too long since we did this, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, everyone, we're going to have to apologize for that. Had a bit of a break, but we're back. We got a lot of things to talk about, a lot of things you're going to love. So we're going to get started today with the best Batman. Who was the best Batman?
Man, I've had this conversation with other people on several occasions, but with just me and you talking about it, and then people are able to comment on what they think, I think it's going to be a more well-rounded conversation.
Okay.
We're going to start with the OG 1966 Batman. Adam West, starring Adam West, directed by Leslie Martinson, and it's based on a TV show.
Correct.
Now, me personally, I love this movie because I love the TV show. Mm-hmm. So to me, it was just a TV show without commercials and extra long. So it's like a special. So I loved it. I always liked Adam West as Batman. Gave me the comic book feel based on the costume and a corny ass jokes and stuff. It made it more cartoony than the later movies did, but again, it was more of a kid-friendly Batman. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't it was comic book, but it wasn't graphic novel as the other one.
It was like actual kid-friendly comic book, campy.
Yeah, extremely campy.
Yeah.
So the way we're going to run this, though, so we're going to introduce the series, the time frame, the director stars, and then we're going to give our pros and cons after a little tidbit of information about this the movie or the series or whatnot. So, this Batman only had one movie because it was a TV show. So kind of the TV show and the movie tied into each other, which I thought was dope.
Right. Well, I mean, if we're being honest about it, it was like an hour and a half episode.
Yeah, but I'm saying still the show that led before the movie came out tied into the show to the movie and then tied into the shows after the movie.
Yeah. So it wasn't a one-off. Everything.
Exactly. So it was just like watching, like I said, a special, like a holiday special.
Right. Yeah. That's accurate. Yeah, that's true.
Now, as far as the pros and cons, my pros were that it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it was imaginative because they took everything you saw on the TV show had a toy, and the toy looked just like it did on TV show for its time, or what they could come up with using plastic. Let's do it that way. So the Batmobile had Batman and Robin in it, but they were like little plastic things, the same color as the characters. They had the Batboat, they had the Batcopter, they had the Batcycle. They had I think the Joker's car too. I think the Penguin little mobile or whatever. They had everything they had on the TV show. You were able to purchase,
right?
And the vehicles looked just like they did on the TV show, which I thought was really dope.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about it, for a long time, TV shows like that and cartoons were basically meant to sell toys.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really about being drawing people to the comic book as much as it was drawing people to the toy store.
Yeah, true.
Now,
so what are your pros?
I think my pro is that they up the scale of the TV show. Because like there's this one scene where they're running down the street. Now, of course, it's a screen behind them, but you could see Burt Ward running his ass off, trying to look like he's running. And the way that they did it, I was like, okay, you guys didn't do that on the show, so you're trying to up your game. And like they had this one scene where Batman's hanging from a helicopter ladder. And there's a shark on his leg. Yeah. And he has the shark repellent.
Shark repellent. Oh my God. Yeah. But else you, but you can't not you. Okay, out of all the Batman that we're going to talk about, his utility belt had the best options in it.
His utility belt, I don't know if you remember this. His utility belt had a shield.
Yeah, it had something for every occasion.
Where did he put the shield?
It's Batman, bro. We don't need to explain it. It's Batman. We never asked where the Hulk got his drawers from every time he bust out his clothes. Bruce Wayne had gray pants on. Now the Hulk got purple sweats on. Nah, bro. But anyway,
they're long johns.
We're not going there. We're sticking to the script. Stick to the script. Batman. All right. So, Mike, is that your only pros?
Pretty much just the fact that they were able to expand the TV show.
Okay. So my only con I have for it is that it was just an extension of the TV show. It wasn't a true blockbuster type movie. It was just they took the same writer, same director, and everybody who did the TV show and said, "Hey, we need you to make this an hour and a half long conversation." And the fact that anytime I've had this conversation about Batman, this Batman was never included in the conversation.
That's true. Yeah,
it's always been from the next one we're talking about and beyond. It's never been Adam West. So I'm glad we chose to discuss this because a lot of people sleep on how dope that show was and how much Batman was. So
well, and you know what? I'll give one more pro. Adam West, I think, did Bruce Wayne probably the best. And the reason why I say that is because he looked like who you would think would be running a company. And he looked like someone you would say this couldn't possibly be Batman. Right?
And he always looked good because he never took a punch. And if he did, you saw it behind a bed. Yeah. Always behind because you never saw Batman take a punch. So
no.
Robin, on the other hand, was getting his ass whooped in the background.
Robin caught the blues a lot. I don't think people remember how many times Robin got his butt whooped by like
holy catastrophic black eyes Batman.
All right, well, let's move on to the next Batman. So the Tim Burton Batman from 1989. Mm-hmm. So I think to a lot of people, this is the first Batman they remember.
Yes.
A lot of people of our generation and later. Now, the reason why I say that isn't so much because it's Batman, because everybody knows Batman. I mean, he's been in comic books since the 30s, the 40s,
yeah.
So, but this one stuck out to a lot of people because of how it looked. Yeah. This movie was dark.
Exactly.
And the Joker, played by Jack Nicholson, was probably the best representation of the Joker to date. Now, this was a gangster that went crazy. And that's it.
Now, before we go any further, we just, again, like you said, it's 1989 film. Stars Michael Keaton as Batman Bruce Wayne. Mm-hmm. Directed by Tim Burton. Now, this show was Warner Brothers' first stab at movie series.
Right.
And they're building a franchise out of Batman. So it was influenced by The Killing Joke, mm-hmm. which is a Batman comic. That's where Jack Napier's persona and stuff came from. And The Dark Knight Returns were the influences for the original Batman movie with Michael Keaton. Now, the movie wasn't meant for kids.
No, not at all.
But most, like nowadays, a lot of adults who grew up with Batman are Batman fans. But as children, a lot of us kids, our superheroes were our superheroes. So you had more parents, oh, Dad, I want to go see, oh, Mom, I want to go see the Batman movie or whatever. Oh, it's Batman. Okay, it can't be that bad. Then they go see the movie, and then Bobby goes and gets his head blown off. You know what I'm saying? It's kidnapping going on. It's poisoning going on. It's all this violence and stuff going on. And parents are like, wait, hold on. This is Batman. Why are we seeing this? They are expecting to see the Adam West style Batman.
Right. Well, and that's but see, that's the problem when you say movies, call it a comic book movie. That's the problem. Because it's a lot like animation. Because in Japan, animation isn't for kids.
Exactly.
Animation is another form of film media, a medium, right?
Yeah.
Here, we say cartoons are for children. Comic books are for children. Right? Well, we did for a long time.
Well, but again, comic books weren't meant for children to read. Parents gave them to kids because they were colorful and they gave them something to do other than bothering them.
Yeah, true. Well,
the original cartoons had adult advertising on it. Think about it. The Flintstones and them were prime time TV shows. They didn't come on in the afternoon after school.
Right.
They come on at 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah. Well, like The Simpsons.
Yeah, but The Simpsons wasn't a kid show either.
No, never was.
That's why it came on at the time slot it did. Because remember, bedtimes are different now than they used to be. We put our kids to bed at 10 o'clock now. Back then, you went to bed at 7, 8 o'clock.
True.
So when you went, the kids were in bed, then adults can sit back and watch the Flintstones.
Right. Yeah, well, that's true. Like that. Well, that's true. And to the point about Batman, the 66 Batman was for children.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah, it came on right at after school. Yeah, it was after school.
Right. And even we're not gonna, because this talk is about movie Batman, so we'll just stick to that. But I will point out the 92 animated series Batman. I don't think that was for children, even though it was on Fox Kids. I never consider that a kid's cartoon at all, because they got hardcore in that show.
Exactly.
They did.
I agree.
Got messed up.
I agree. That's why if you think about it right now, the animated DC movies that come out now are all rated R.
Yes. PG-13 and rated R. There's no
there's cussing in them, there's violence in them, it's you know,
what was it?
Not actual sex scenes, but it's like you can tell that that's what's going on.
Well, no, in the one where what was it, the Killing Joke, the cartoon version of the Killing Joke, Batgirl and Batman got down. So there you go.
There it is.
You know, and so it shows you the shift, and I think the 89 Batman is what set it off, because we never went back after that.
Yeah.
You know, the tone never changed back. And a lot of that also is attributed to Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns.
Well, we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, but as far as feel, let's just throw that in there. Okay. All right, we got a little far away on that, but let's bring it back.
All right, so what are your pros for this movie?
It's the style, the style of the movie, the darkness, the Gotham City looked like a dangerous place to be. Yeah. You know, that you wouldn't be surprised if some dude in clown makeup walked up on you. You know,
it's Gotham.
It's Gotham. Well, you know,
expect. I'm not surprised. Right? I'll tell you. So, my pros are that it was comic book-esque, meaning they pretty much took the pages of a comic book and put it in a movie, and that's Tim Burton style. Also, the Batmobile was off the chain.
Oh yeah,
it was so dope that they put it in Universal Studios. Man, that Batmobile was dope. And the Batwing, I can't forget about the Batwing.
Yeah, so. The best part is when it flew up to the moon.
Yeah, that was dope. And then, that was dope. Yeah, I gotta go back and watch that movie again now. See. Okay, what are your cons?
All right, so my con is actually about the suit. The bat suit has always been a issue for me. For one, you can't tell who that is, and and for two, especially in the case of this Batman, it looked like the head and the shoulders were one piece. When he revealed himself, he had to tear it off. It wasn't something he could just pull back or take off, you know, because, and for example, Batman versus Superman, when Bruce Wayne was having his dream, all Batman had to do was take his hood off. He just took it up. You know, it was like just a regular something covering his head. As opposed to this, which looks like it was either PVC or leather or something that was like one complete piece
One
from the
bulky
head,
piece, yeah.
to the head to the shoulders.
Yeah.
So I think that is probably my biggest con.
My cons are, it was, for as dark as it still was campy, which the comic relief, if they would have used anybody else but Jack Nicholson for Joker, it would have made Batman corny. Let's do it that way. Because as serious as Michael Keaton was as Batman, anybody else playing the Joker, I think, would have did him a disservice. It would have made him look like he was being, trying too hard to be a tough guy.
Right.
And the fact that it was rated PG-13, I didn't like. I felt it should have been rated R. It wasn't a kid movie.
I don't think it would have
for the time.
Okay.
Because in 1989, anything that had any type of violence in it was rated R.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think they got a pass for PG-13 because it was Batman.
Yeah. Well, and Warner Brothers fought hard for that PG-13.
Yeah.
Because they knew that people are going to want to bring their kids to see Batman.
Exactly.
Right. And it would be hard to justify a parent, especially in the 80s, to bring your kids to an R-rated movie.
Yep.
I
mean, they will now. They'll take them to see Deadpool in a heartbeat.
Yeah, don't get me started on that.
my biggest con was the fight scenes because his costume was so stiff.
Okay.
So,
and it goes back to
acrobatic stunts that he was supposed to be doing in that stiff ass costume, he couldn't have done in that stiff ass costume.
No.
So
no. Well, something you mentioned before was when he would use the grappling hook. I forget what it's called. He had to actually
lean all the way back
to see what he was aiming at.
He get chopped in his throat all day with that, man. What are you looking at?
That doesn't seem very practical to me.
Nah.
But
I'm saying,
again,
it was 1989.
Right. And see, the thing is, and we always have to remember that we're judging this on 2020 with 2020 eyes.
Yeah.
So we've seen all these movies.
That's true.
So we do have to cut them a little slack. We'd have to cut them a little slack.
That is true.
Especially when you compare them to the Marvel movies that were coming out at the time, the TV show movies with Thor and
oh my God. Let's not go there. Let's not go there, man. Oh my.
DC wins.
Oh man. I'm at nightmares now.
All right. So
we're moving on. The next film we're going to discuss is Batman Returns. It's a 1992 film starring Michael Keaton again as Batman Bruce Wayne, directed by Tim Burton again. Now, with this film, they went with the lighter tone because of all the flack they got for the first one being so dark and violent.
Okay.
So they made this one more family friendly.
I want to say yes, but the Catwoman and Penguin storylines were still pretty dark.
Yes.
Especially the Penguin.
Yes.
The Penguin was that was kind of, I was like, wow, really?
Yeah.
Especially the part where he's actually eating the fish. It's like, all right, dude. But I think Michelle Pfeiffer stole that movie.
I think so too. Her and Danny DeVito.
And Danny. Well, and that was always the problem with that era of Batman movies. The villain was way more interesting than Batman was.
Exactly.
Which isn't it. I mean, if we think about the comic books, that's not so far off because I prefer Harley Quinn to Batman anyway.
Yeah.
But even in a Batman comic, which is weird because I don't know if the bad guy should overshadow the hero. But for some reason, that's just what happens because Batman's pretty straight lace. He's the Dark Knight. He's here to fight crime. He's not. There's not really much you're going to do with that personality wise.
But everybody that knows me knows that my favorite DC character is the Joker. That's my favorite DC character. And that's a whole different story. We're not going to talk about that. We're talking about Batman. We're going to stick to Batman. Okay. So
but you know what? To be fair, I don't think you can talk about Batman
without talking about the Joker.
because they're two sides of the same coin.
Yes,
They really are. That,
yes.
and it's been talked about many times. You couldn't have one without the other.
That's true.
You know,
Because even with all the other villains that Batman fought, the ones you remember the most are him and the Joker.
right,
The Joker did the most harm to this man,
right,
the most heartache.
yeah,
Killing the killing Robin and
right.
and turning the original Robin into Nightwing. It's so much this dude did to cause what he called turning the other Robin into Red Hood. It's just like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Okay, so let's continue on, but I want to come back to that point because I want to talk about who did Batman the best of the actors we're going to talk about.
Once we go through the list, then we can get to that.
I think the Joker will play a part in that.
Yes,
because
I agree.
For me, the best Batman is who can deal with that the best.
Yes.
All right, so let's continue on with this. So do you want to go? Do you want to do all of the Burton Schumacher Batman, or do you just?
I'm Batman.
I
couldn't help it.
All right, let's jump through these real quick because Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, those were painful movies that I don't think should have happened.
But we have to talk about them because they strayed away from Michael Keaton and decided to go with another comedian in Val Kilmer for Batman Forever.
Well, but Val Kilmer isn't a comedian. He just it was that lighter tone. I blame most of that on Joel Schumacher because Joel Schumacher was trying to 180 Tim Burton.
But Tim Burton produced the movie.
Well, just because how many times have we seen produced by Peter Jackson on stuff?
Well, touche.
Right? Mortal Engines, anybody?
Touche. You got a point.
Right? So that doesn't mean anything.
But and another thing about going back to Batman Returns, Tim Burton didn't even want to direct that movie.
Yeah, he did that for the paycheck.
But he ended up directing, producing, and writing it.
Yeah.
And that's why we got what we got. But he did a good job on it. But then we go to Batman Forever, and again, they tried extremely too hard to make it a kid movie.
Well, Batman Forever was Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones.
And Tommy Lee Jones, exactly.
They were two-faced.
Oh, and Poison Ivy was in that too, wasn't she?
No, she was in Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin. Okay, you're right. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Tommy Lee Jones is known as a serious actor, but he let his comic relief come out in that. He played a good Two-Face though.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that movie wasn't. If it wasn't for the villains, Batman wouldn't have had nothing to do. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And it was more of a backstory to the the Riddler than it was anything else, because it showed how he came about. But then they went too far with the storyline as far as the criminals. It's two criminals, and you got one Batman trying to defeat them both, and it was too much. It was way too much.
Well, and then that's why they had to introduce Robin. So, because remember, that was the movie they added Robin.
But he was a crybaby in that movie, though.
He was always a crybaby.
Okay.
Yeah, but I guess they figured because we're adding more villains, we need to add more heroes.
Yeah.
Because if you remember in Batman and Robin, they added Batgirl.
Yeah.
But
see, and the thing too, also Batman Forever, the action scenes in that movie were really dope.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't all about the stiff costumes in the first two Batmans. They kind of worked on that and did something better when it went on with it or whatever.
Right.
And then adding Robin to the film was
now Robin's suit actually looked pretty smooth.
Yeah.
The Schumacher Batman suits were lost on me, especially when they added the nipples to George Clooney's suit. They didn't need to do that. Why? You didn't need to do that.
Now since we're kind of scooting through these few here before we get to the meat of Batman as we love them in the current state, Batman and Robin, they went back to the campiness. It was like they were trying to recapture what they had in an Adam West type of Batman movies.
Right.
It was really cartoony. It was super colorful. I don't know. Bane was supposed to be scary, but really wasn't. Just looked like a bodybuilder or a wrestler with tubes in his head. You know what I'm saying? But again, it was. That one was based more on that one, and I believe Batman Forever were based more on the cartoons than they were on the
comic books.
The comic books.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, the Bane that they had on the Batman cartoon, what was it? The Batman, or was it Batman? Wasn't Batman Beyond, but one of the Batman movies, that Bane looks just like the costume Bane that they had. The Poison Ivy looks like that Poison Ivy. You know what I'm saying? They did it different.
Well, Bane in the comic books, and we're going to talk about this in the next series of Batman movies. The Bane and Batman and Robin look like the traditional Bane.
From the comic book, exactly.
He had the tubes and the mask and all that stuff.
Whereas, he looks more like the cartoon Bane than the comic book Bane, because they kind of had Bane was full of veins and everything else in the comic book. So.
Yeah, but I mean, he looked more like Bane than the Bane in The Dark Knight Rises.
That's true.
You know, so let's
more like a Bane too, because he was a dummy. Yeah, Bane.
The Bane from the Harley Quinn cartoon is the best one.
Yeah. And from the Batman Telltale the game, that Bane on there was dope too. He had a Russian accent. It was dope.
Yeah. Well, and then Injustice also.
Yes.
All right, so let's move into the Nolan Batman.
Batman Begins 2005 is what started it all off. So this is starring Christian Bale, and again, like you said, Christopher Nolan was the director. Now this one they went back. It was another reboot, or actual reboot, not another, but it was a reboot. So they went back to Batman's origin story and kind of delved into actually what made him leave after his parents died and turn into the person he turned into. Right. So now this one was the storyline was based on The Man Who Falls, Batman Year One, and Batman The Long Halloween. Okay. Because remember, the villain in this was Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul.
Correct.
So
now, and the thing is, a part of me thinks the reason why the show Arrow at least started off the way it did was because they couldn't get the license to do Batman. So they did Green Arrow. But they did Green Arrow as if he was Batman. So everything fell into place the same way it would have fell into place if it were Batman.
I agree.
You know, because like he had to fight Ra's al Ghul. He had to fight the League of, they called them the
League of Shadows.
League of Shadows. One of them was the League of Assassins. The other was the League of Shadows. I forget which one was which.
They were one and the same.
Yeah, but they were the same organization, but you had to call them something different.
Yeah.
So, and that's basically what they did. Now, what made for me Batman Begins, what made that movie for me was the fact that everything he did in that movie was practical. The bat suit was practical.
Like real life shit, yeah.
It was real life. Like if I were going to do this, how would I do it? Now, I love the fact that he took his League of Assassins, League of Shadows armor and made that the bat suit.
Yeah. Right?
Because he had the blades on his arm
blades,
right? Because they had the blades on the arms, and there was armor everywhere. It was like Kevlar, and so you could understand how you could shoot him in the head and then not kill him because he had armor plated. His cowl was armor plated.
Yeah,
but it was also movable. He didn't.
It was functional. It was supposed to be functional. He made it functional so he can do what he needed to do in it. Exactly. Right. It made more sense than the previous Batman costume.
And I think this was the first of the Batman movies that explained how he learned to fight.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Because he origin story.
It was an origin story, and it was a proper origin story.
Exactly.
Because a lot of times you go from his parents got shot, he's Batman.
Exactly.
Right? It's like
exactly. Ain't no in between. This
no
game was in between. Exactly.
But what Batman Begins did was it showed the in between.
Exactly.
You know, and it was like, okay, he's troubled. He doesn't want to do this. He's traveling the world trying to escape his past, and he falls in with these people.
Yeah.
You know, and then he wants to go home, but of course, you don't leave the League of Shadows.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that's where he started having his issues with
exactly.
You
But
know.
he wanted to go back and protect his hometown and blah 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 blah.
And also,
Now,
I think
go ahead.
this was the first Batman that was, I mean, because right now there's this, I don't know when it happened, but Metropolis and Gotham City aren't far from each other anymore.
They never were.
Well,
Chicago
they were.
and New York.
It's Chicago and New York, yes.
Yeah.
But
Chicago and New York are not far from each other.
But they're not that damn close. You know, because when we talk about Batman versus Superman, they're right across a lake. Almost.
They can fly, bro. How far you, man? Remember Superman in the Superman movie? Since we're going to talk about Superman, remember he spun around real fast and made everything go in reverse. So him flying from New York to Chicago is not a large feat.
But
a single building in a single
okay. And now that's true, but in the Snyder version that we're going to talk about after this,
I can't wait to see that. Man.
They're right across the bay from each other.
Yeah.
Right now, my point is, this Gotham City is identifiable American city.
Yeah.
Right. This is Gotham New York or Chicago?
Gotham is Chicago.
Okay. Gotham, Chicago. Metropolis is New York.
Metropolis is New York.
Okay.
As of now.
Now.
Before, they were pretty much one and the same because you never saw them in the same city at the same time. Because the Daily Planet is actually, if you think about it or look at it, it actually looks like the Empire State Building.
Right.
With the
and that's why I've always figured that Metropolis was New York.
I think Metropolis always been New York. And as far as Gotham City, they never showed anything but a couple of alleys. Mm-hmm. So at first, I felt that it was more like Hell's Kitchen, New York.
Yeah.
But then as this series came along with all the bridges and stuff, it's Chicago.
Yeah. But
because Chicago has, but again, Manhattan has the same. See, that's where it gets confusing because Manhattan has a lot of bridges out of it too.
But see, Gotham is a nickname for New York, though. Oh. So it's
so is Metropolis.
So is Metropolis, right? Which is
Metropolis
why
could be Chicago.
But Metropolis could be any big city, though.
Yeah.
Metropolis is a big city with towers and a lot of people and.
Well, let's do this. Let's do this. You guys let us know in the comments if Metropolis is New York or Chicago, and if Gotham is New York or Chicago. What's your opinions on it? So let us know in the comments, and we'll hash that out with you guys, and we'll just have that conversation then instead of just
going on.
Yeah.
And if you hear this long, please hit the subscribe button.
But I hope y'all liked it already because of my voice to my, not anyway. So
all this academia going on.
So my pros for Batman Begins, for the series in general, because we're going there, the series in general, it was a true origin story. They actually, I feel, touched on Batman the way the comic books did. Mm-hmm. The storylines were, of course, dope because they were based on the comic book, even though they did take it to their own places or whatnot. The fight scenes were all dope in all the movies. Yeah. Costume designs were amazing. Only thing I didn't like, my only con, is the Batmobile.
Oh, the Tumbler?
The Tumbler and the little bat wing, which was a helicopter plane mix thing in the last one.
Right. Well, but now the thing though is if you were going to make something like that today, it would look like that. Versus
the Batmobile is a car, bro. It's not a tank.
But you need something that's going to mow down barricades and drive through buildings. You're not going to do that in a car.
Okay, which Batman did you watch where he didn't mow down buildings and cars and stuff in the Batmobile he had? Name one. Except for Adam West.
He had missiles.
Because he got a parking ticket.
But
hated.
But look,
on Batman.
That's true. I remember that. But what I mean is, I would see that happening more in this thing than in a car because it's a
Dude.
tank.
Batman versus Superman and the Justice League did more damage in his Batmobile than this cat did in this one.
Well, that's because this one's a better driver.
Nah. It was a better made Batmobile and it looked cooler than that one. That Batmobile.
Well, okay, so I want to let's finish up with the Nolans, because now for The Dark Knight, unfortunately, my pro and con is the main characters. The pro of The Dark Knight was Heath Ledger playing the Joker.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The con was he overshadowed Batman so much that
very much so.
I didn't really care about what Batman was up to in that movie.
Okay. Now, let me explain to you why that was. That movie was inspired by Joker Batman comic books.
Mm-hmm.
So the Joker debut comic book in 1940, The Killing Joke, which again, that's what the Tim Burton one was based on.
Mm-hmm.
And then The Long Halloween, which the Batman Begins was based on also. So every storyline they used to make this movie was based behind the Joker. So this movie was supposed to be about the Joker, even though it was called Batman. Or it wasn't even called Batman. It was called The Dark Knight.
That's The Dark Knight.
It wasn't even called Batman.
Yeah.
So, but this movie was based on, and again, in those comic books and in those series and in this movie, you can see how the Joker's actions created Harvey Dent.
Mm-hmm.
It made Batman have to make decisions he normally wouldn't have made because remember he lost the love of his life.
Yeah, and the police turned on him.
And the police turned on him. See what I'm saying? So it kind of put him in that I gotta hide now because I'm like is he a criminal or is he a hero type space? So the Joker molded him in it because he made him make decisions he normally wouldn't have had to make.
Well, let me walk that back a bit, because he did do that because he was trying to save Harvey Dent's reputation.
Yeah. But
still, he had to make that decision, and because of the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
For me though, of the three, I actually enjoyed Dark Knight Rises the most.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is because, for one, Tom Hardy as Bane was just that fool. Just he enjoyed that.
I did not enjoy him as. I guess it was a costume, bro.
I think you know what it is. It helps if you're already a Tom Hardy fan, I think. But him and Anne Hathaway as Catwoman. I dug Anne Hathaway as Catwoman.
Yeah.
And then when Batman came back at the end, when he came back to fight Bane, it felt like, all right, here we go. This one's for all the marbles. Let's do this. And it just gave it that little bit more oomph. And it let him have a semi-happy ending.
Yeah, even though people thought he killed himself.
Right.
Well, and introduced Robin.
And
at the end, without introducing Robin.
I please forgive me. I forgot Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah.
He was great. And, I really wish they had have continued that series because he would have been a great Robin.
Yeah.
Even Batman, quite frankly.
The who was the girl that played Ra's al Ghul's daughter?
What's her name?
Because her character in that movie, dude, with that plot twist when she came out and like, you ain't got to worry about Bane, you need to worry about me.
Mm-hmm.
And when she stabbed him, oh man, right there, I was not. That's the part of the movie because you kind of can expect what's going to happen with the other villains.
Correct.
Eventually, Batman's going to save the day. He's going to defeat Bane. Blah 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 blah. You kind of can get that because it's a Batman movie.
Her name was
that part of the movie.
Uh-huh.
And then her being, who was it?
Her name was Marion Cotillard. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that right.
Okay. What else did she play in besides that?
She played in Allied. She played in Inception. She played in.
Oh, that's what I remember.
Midnight in Paris, okay. Public Enemies.
Yeah. Okay. I know what she is. So,
unfortunately, she played in Assassin's Creed.
I still haven't seen that movie, dude.
Dude.
But and the fact that she was the little girl that Bane was or the kid that Bane was protecting.
Mm.
That right there, because everybody thought that was Bane's story that he was always telling, but it wasn't his story; it was her story.
It was her story, yeah.
Yeah, which I thought was real dope.
She and Ra's al Ghul came back for Bane.
Yeah,
and I dug that part. I was like, all right. And the fact that the other prisoners messed him up so bad he had to wear that thing, man. Kids, stay out of prison.
So yeah, man, that's the Christopher Nolan Batman series. 2012 was A Dark Knight Rising. 2008 was A Dark Knight. So
yeah,
Christian Bale was a really good Batman. I give him that.
He was,
except for the voice.
Yeah,
because you can't do that deep raspy voice with a lisp. I'm just saying.
What, you didn't buy what's his name? God damn it, was it Patrick Bateman from American Psycho as Batman? You didn't buy that? All right, so let's move on to arguably one of the better ensemble movies, superhero movies, Batman versus Superman. Now,
2016,
Dawn of Justice. That's a controversial statement.
Yes, it is.
Because you have people who hate this movie. Now, in its defense, if you watch the Ultimate Edition, it's way better than the
Thank you. I watched it, dude. It's granted it's 3 freaking hours and change.
But way better.
It made way more sense than the original version.
Yes, it did.
Way
if you
more
watch
sense.
That you will understand why I like this movie.
Yes.
So give us a little background on that one.
Okay, so Batman vs. Superman, The Dawn of Justice, again, 2016 film starring Ben Affleck as Batman. Who was Superman?
Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill, okay. And directed by Zack Snyder.
Right.
The original version, but as we all know who actually follows the story, the reason why we got the version we got in the movie theaters is because Zack Snyder, I believe his daughter passed away.
Oh, no, that was Justice League.
That was Justice League.
Yeah, he finished this one.
He finishes. Okay. So, I'm jumping the gun. Okay. Well, this one's inspired by The Dark Knight Returns and The Death of Superman.
Correct.
This movie was inspired by. Yeah. So, the first thing that pissed me off when I saw this movie was the fact that Bruce Wayne ass was driving a Jeep through Gotham City as Superman and Zod were fighting.
Right.
You're Bruce Wayne, bruh.
Why are you gonna? Well, in fairness, he came in from a helicopter, and I guess
I can't. It would have been a Range Rover,
right?
At least it would have been a G-Wagon
or a Mercedes SUV.
Or Mercedes, you feel me? It would have been Mercedes G-Wagon or something extravagant. He's Bruce Wayne,
right?
He was in a Jeep Renegade, bro.
Right. Well, and the other thing is when all this destruction's going on, it had to have been on TV. Don't you think you should have showed up as Batman? You know? But now here's the thing though. Ben Affleck's Batman was actually a lot better than people give it credit for. Because his Batman was intimidating. Because he looked like somebody that would whoop your ass.
Now, at the same time, in the same breath, Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne was one of the better ones out of the ones that we've discussed.
Mm-hmm.
Because Ben Affleck is already rich.
Right.
So he pretty much was just playing himself. But now I have other trinkets and toys.
Just a little grizzle.
To kick your ass if you mess with me. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
He was a believable Bruce Wayne when he was Bruce Wayne. Right. I think they went a little overboard with the costumes in this movie, in these two movies, because granted, he needed the armor to fight Superman, but they tried to make Superman out to be a bad guy initially when he was doing what he was doing to try to save the world.
Mm-hmm.
But Batman, being an arrogant bastard he is, all he saw was people he knew and loved were getting hurt. Right. And I need to stop the alien that's doing it.
Right.
That's a typical American thing to do.
But
I said
now here's the thing,
Fight me.
and it's but here's the thing. There was a very good point made in that movie where we have a nearly indestructible alien that right now is on our side. What happens if he decides to not be on our side?
True that.
Right. And that's why I can when they said that, I was like, yeah. And but the thing was, it made me want to watch that movie Brightburn.
Dude.
Because Brightburn is basically what would happen if Superman was a bad guy.
Put your brakes on, because when we do our Superman series, we're going to have to definitely bring that in there in the what if, because they actually have a series of comic books that have all the superheroes being evil instead of just Superman.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the What If series. Well,
the What If series, exactly.
And you have the new cartoon, was it Red Sun, where Superman landed in Russia instead of the United States?
Yeah.
Right. So, but that's Superman. We'll get to that in another episode.
Yeah.
Now, true enough, the storyline was kind of hokey at parts, but Zack Snyder does hokey in his movies. He does. The part where Batman doesn't kill Superman because they have their moms have the same name.
Why did you say that name?
Right. that spear,
I'm like,
that spear would have been so far into his neck. I would have been like, hey, did he say Martha?
Right? How you know my mama?
How you know my mama? But so things like that. Yeah, okay, that's hokey. But the special effects are off the chain.
Yes.
And
CGI though, bruh. It's not one even special effects, CGI.
But to your point about what the Batmobile can do, this Batmobile was more like a roadster. In fact, you know what? It reminded me of George Clooney's Batmobile. And
see, that's what we went past that when we was doing the pros and cons. The Batmobiles in the last two Batman were so just futuristic. Just you know what I'm saying? It was a visual spectacles, man. It's like you had to be like, well, but it's not. I wouldn't drive it on the street, but if I had one, it'd be in my front yard,
right?
With the turbine spooled up all the time.
Okay, so if you remember the Ben Affleck Batmobile, it kind of looked like a merger of all the Batmobiles that had come before it.
It had aspects of each. It
had aspects of each one of them.
I agree.
Because it had the guns that came up out of the front, like Michael Keaton's Batmobile, and the door that slid forward. Yeah. It had the wings that went back that looked kind of like the Val Kilmer one, but his wings were just out of left field, and it sat low.
You know what I just thought about that what you described in that car? You know what it really reminds me of? You remember the show The Batman?
Yeah.
When his was just a long black car and the lights kind of look like eyes, and then the front part kind of looks like the it's cowl kind of, and kind of slick back like ears.
Yeah,
that's kind of what Ben Affleck's look more like that.
Okay.
Because it really didn't have any. It was just like pretty streamlined. It really didn't have all the the rivets and rib cages and stuff as the other ones did.
Right. Yeah. Well, and then it was damn near indestructible. I mean, he drove that thing through a building. But now,
I think suspension on that Joker was woo.
Right now. The other thing about Batman versus Superman is that it didn't pull punches with the fights. So when Batman was like in that scene where he's beating up on Lex Luthor's men, he is doing some damage. We're not talking about just punch you and you go down. Some of these fools, you can tell, he's dead. He's dead. He's dead.
Yeah, exactly. But like again, they were used the inspiration from the comic books to do a whole lot in these movies. Oh, yeah. Zack Snyder did his homework when he made these movies.
Yeah,
he did a hell of a job.
My main con is probably, well, it's a two-parter. My main con had to do with the villains, with Lex Luthor and Doomsday. Because Doomsday was not Zod reborn. Okay, and I want to say he was Kryptonian at a point, but he wasn't one of them, and he mutated. He was like a beast from their world. What's your pros and cons?
My pros were the costumes, of course. The storyline, the Batmobile, and the different bat suits. Because remember, he had 2 or 3 of them on. My cons now is the fact that they had him in another country with mercenaries to get the kryptonite.
No,
or whatever he could get. Remember, he went to that other country.
That wasn't another country.
That was America?
That was Gotham City.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
That
just
was
the way they popped out the back of that truck and they shooting and stuff. I just swore they was in a whole nother country. They were in Gotham.
That was his dream about after Darkseid showed up. And see that's another con about this movie, and this is my sticking point, just like it's with a lot of people's sticking point. They did a lot of things that they didn't actually explain what was happening
until they did the extended version.
In the extended version, they did talk. They showed his dream, and they did reference Darkseid and things like that, but they didn't do it enough originally for people to be like, "What am I looking at?"
Yeah.
Right.
And that's where I'm at, because I'm thinking about the actual movie theater version, not the extended version. I forgot about that part. So you're absolutely right. Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's in the Snyder Cut commercial or trailer for the Justice League, where they show the Justice League building all broken down. It's if you look at it, it's almost the same shot.
Because they talked about, what was that at the end? Was that the end of Justice League when they were in the building at the Hall of Justice?
That was. Did they do that in Justice League?
That was at the end of the Justice League.
No, they didn't do the. Oh man!
Because remember, we said there's seating for 6, and she was like, "But room for more." That was at the end of
Justice League.
League.
That was at the end of the Justice League. Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I remember that. Yeah. Now now, to be fair, and this is yet again an example of Batman being overshadowed. Wonder Woman owned that movie.
Dude.
When Wonder Woman showed up, I was like, "Yep."
And again, even in the Justice League, when Superman came back to life, the only one that could go toe to toe with him until he knocked her ass out was Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Cyborg couldn't hold a candle to him. The Flash, he just looked at him when he ran by. I'm like, "What are you doing, little boy?"
Right. He kind of looked at him. When he did that, I was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
You could see when Zack Snyder stopped and Joss Whedon began.
Yes.
The tone shifted.
So looking forward to the Zack Snyder.
Yeah, that's why I'm really looking forward to the Snyder Cut.
One thing that I do think that no other person could have pulled off the way that Ben Affleck did was when he was recruiting everybody, his conversations that he had with the different people. Well, he had Wonder Woman talk to Cyborg, but when he went to talk to Aquaman, and he was like, "So, you talk to fish?" You know what I'm saying?
I think the only person who could have delivered that line as well would probably have been Michael Keaton.
Yeah,
with the snarkiness that he had, because Michael Keaton does snarky very well.
Yeah, Christian Bale would have been all out of place with it.
Right, that wouldn't have worked. But yeah, Ben Affleck.
You talk to fish.
Ben Affleck. You know what? Ben Affleck does the comedy aspect the best. He can inject comedy and it not feel out of place. Because he has a history in comedy through his work with Kevin Smith. So, and but no, I enjoyed Batman versus Superman, the Ultimate Edition, and I enjoyed Justice League, but I'm really looking forward to the Snyder Cut. All right, so let's wind it down. I do want to say a word about The Batman, the new movie. So we just found out that that's being pushed back to 2022.
I know.
And I'm disappointed because I was looking forward to that. The Rona has caused quite a bit of issues in Hollywood, so everything is being pushed back. And the theaters.
It's not even a Rona though, man. They got the sparkly dude from Twilight doing Batman, bro. I'm still not okay with that.
You know what?
He might do a good job though.
Okay, here's my thing. Here's my thing about Robert Pattinson, because I've given Robert Pattinson a lot of shit over the years, but my view of him changed when I saw the movie Cosmopolis by David Cronenberg.
Bruh.
And David Cronenberg is an excellent director.
Bruh. Tom Holland got one more Spider-Man movie. Who gonna be the next Spider-Man? Harry Potter?
Weasley?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
But now,
once you glow, your skin glows from sunlight, bro. You can't live that down. I don't care how many cars you ride in a different movie, bro.
Well, we're gonna talk about that when we talk about the Lost Boys for Halloween. My vampires don't sparkle. but
bro.
Robert Pattinson is actually a better actor than people give him credit for. The Lighthouse he did with Willem Dafoe was crazy. You know, he did another movie called Map to the Stars. That was a good movie.
Yeah,
you got to look at some of his. You got to look at some of his post Twilight.
I've never seen Twilight. Once I found out he was sparkling in the sunlight, that was cool. I couldn't do it, man. My wife been trying to get me to watch Twilight since we've been together, and I was like, I'm not watching that. I'm cool. I watch Harry Potter all day long, but I am not watching Twilight.
As a vampire aficionado, it's prerequisite to at least watch it, and then I can shit on it later.
Man, go ahead with that, bro. I'm good.
We come to the end of the show, and we need to ask who was the best Batman. So for me, I'm going to say the best Batman was, I want to give it to Ben Affleck. And the reason why I want to give it to Ben Affleck was for the physicality, for the vehicles he used, the equipment that he used. It seemed a lot more, okay, this is Batman. My second is probably Christian Bale, because his Batsuit was very functional and very practical. But for all of these people, and I said it at the beginning of the episode, Adam West was the best Bruce Wayne. And so for me, it goes in that order. So Ben Affleck and Christian Bale for Batman, Adam West, and then Michael Keaton for Bruce Wayne.
Okay. Now for me, the best Batman, the best portrayal of Batman is Michael Keaton.
Okay.
The reason why I say that is because even though his costume was stiff, he was a believable Batman. He looked like Batman. When you saw him, you saw Batman. So, and Bruce Wayne, when you saw him, you saw Bruce Wayne. Ben Affleck would come second because of the fact that it was more so than Christian Bale, a rich dude using his money to make and create things. Because if you think about it, in all the Batman comic books and cartoons you've ever seen, he never had Lucius Fox making nothing for him.
That's true. Well,
if he was making stuff for him, you didn't really hear about it. Him and Alfred was doing that stuff themselves, as far as I knew.
True. Well,
up until Christian Bale.
There's a scene in Batman Begins where he's building the Batcave himself, but Lucius Fox is bringing him stuff. Whereas in the Michael Keaton one, it just looks like something he built himself.
Exactly. And the same thing with Ben Affleck. You didn't really hear about Lucius Fox. You didn't hear about nobody helping, even though of course he couldn't have did that all by himself. But at the same time, as being Batman,
well, and you know, something that we didn't touch on as much as we should have is the best Batman is also determined by the best villain. And we talked about this earlier. So the Joker is by far the best villain in the Batman comic books and movies, quite frankly. And because there wasn't a Joker in the last few Batman movies, and I don't count Jared Leto as a true Joker because I don't know what the hell that was supposed to be.
No, sir.
But that doesn't not having a true villain makes it hard to judge which one is the best one, especially of the new ones, because they don't have the same oomph as the older ones did.
But at the same time, the fact that the Scarecrow was a villain in Batman Rises, and he's going to be the villain in The Batman.
Mm.
Kind of.
Well, the Scarecrow was the original villain, though.
Yes, he was the
Scarecrow
first
came
person. First person.
Yeah.
But the Riddler's supposed to be in the new Batman movie too.
Yeah, he is.
Supposed to be a Scarecrow and a Riddler.
Yeah.
But
All
yeah,
right.
so there it is.
All right. So, anything else you want to add to our conversation?
Nah, just Batman is the lick, man. I am looking forward to seeing this movie to see what they do with this version of Batman. It's another reboot. So I'm gonna see. I can't wait to see. The new Batmobile is dope.
Mm.
So I can't wait to see what they do with this version of Batman. So I'm looking forward to seeing it, even though Sparkly Boy's the star. But you know what I'm saying? It's all good, man. I can't be have sparkleism. So
Well, everyone, we're going to leave it there. I want to thank you for tuning in. And if you enjoyed this episode, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel, because we do this every week. And we're also going to be throwing in some trailer reaction and just some more content for you. We're going to be building up this podcast, taking it to the next level. So for Mr. Doja, I'm Dra. See you next time.
peace.